Hello and welcome back to the DRH show. I'm thrilled to have with us today someone who has extensive experience in business coaching and a wealth of knowledge in empowering entrepreneurs. He has worked with top global stars, produced international entertainment properties, and built companies in marketing, media, and renewable energy. Now, as an action coach, business coach, he helps business owners achieve their goals, increase revenue, build great teams, and gain clarity. Matt Donegan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Now, Matt, thanks for accepting my invitation. If you could just kick this off with us telling us your background, your trajectory in life, and how you ended up doing what you're doing.
Okay. It's quite a varied background, as you've just heard in your description. I started off in the entertainment industry. I worked on some doing productions, a live entertainment production, and I got kind of dragged kicking and screaming into the world of television. When I was working in television, I started working on some fairly major award shows. So I was doing multi-act, multi-camera music shows. So things like the Mobile Awards. I used to work as one of the contractors on the Brit Awards. And I worked on a couple of shows. Dance Star was one of them over here, and one in the UK and one in the US. And I produced a show called Fashion Rocks, which was at the Royal Albert Hall, which is one of the biggest shows that's ever been in the Royal Albert Hall. We had 12 of the biggest fashion designers in the world and 12 of the biggest music artists in the world performing at the same time. So that was kind of the height of that part of the career. Because I didn't own any of the intellectual property that I was producing, I decided I wanted to go off and do my own thing. I created a marketing services business that was geared originally around producing content for brands, fairly high profile work. Then the great financial crash happened. We rebuilt the agency that I'd just set up, and we became a creative marketing agency for sports. Bizarrely, but sports is entertainment. Built that company over 12 or 14 years, exited that business, subsequently produced or built a data platform, a marketing data platform, then moved on to sustainability and renewables, because that's a passion point. How I ended up doing this is, to me, it's an absolute dream job. It does everything that I love. It's working with business owners. It constantly educates me. I can help educate them. I provide support. The things that I was doing for free and for favors to people, I now get paid for on a regular basis. But providing support to business owners is a real passion point, because it's difficult. It's really difficult when you start a business. There's a lot of business intelligence out there, and there's a lot of business knowledge and learning that most business owners haven't engaged with. So for me to kind of spread the wisdom, spread some expertise, be able to support them through their journey is to me, it's the best thing in the world. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could actually relate with what you said. It's really quite difficult to, set up your own business. I'm an accidental business owner myself. I've shared to you my journey. For anyone who's watching, you can check out Matt Donegan's YouTube channel. But Matt, let's talk about your slogan. It's quite interesting. You said that a goal without a plan is just a dream. So can you explain what this means for business owners?
Right. Okay. That's a really good question, actually, because when it comes down to it, you might have an ambition with the business. What I often see with businesses is that they either want to end up somewhere and they haven't quite mapped out the journey, how they're going to get there. So they might want to exit their business for, say, £5 million in 5 years. I hear those kind of numbers fairly often. But they haven't actually worked out how they're going to do it. And from a psychology perspective, and you know this far better than I do, seeing past 3 months is quite difficult. You can visualize your actions over 3 months, but doing it over 5 years is virtually impossible. So they fail to act. They fail to plan, and they fail to act. It's even worse for businesses who, you mentioned having an accidental business. Lots of people start in business because they're trying to solve a problem for a particular marketplace. and they haven't actually thought about how they're going to grow the business and where it's going to get to. They haven't thought about what the destination is going to be. So if you're going to sail, if you're getting a sailing boat and you launch out to sea, which is kind of a parallel for running a business, you want to know where you're going to get to. Otherwise, you're just going to keep going around in circles. And that is the danger of either having a lack of focus about where you want to get to, or an idea of where you are going to get to, but no idea how you're going to get there. So putting those actions in place, unless it's got those actions, unless it's bound by a series of goals, it is only ever going to be a dream.
Now, Matt, of course, we're both aware that, there's so many business coaching services being offered out there. But what do you think makes ActionCOACH unique compared to other coaching services?
Okay, so ActionCOACH has been going for more than 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's in 80 countries around the world, and it is highly systematized. So the ActionCOACH platform, even though we have vast amounts of experience as business coaches, myself and all the other coaches that I know are very, very switched on people, and they've got a huge wealth of business experience, we still lean into the system that sits behind. So there's about 3,500, or it's said that we have 3,500 tactics and strategies that help businesses across many different challenges. The reality is there's far more, because one of those strategies, for instance, might have 100 different variations in it. So what attracted me to the ActionCOACH offer was the support, the community. That's another massive part of ActionCOACH. There are around about 200 coaches in the UK. And if any one of us has a particular challenge with a client that we can't readily find the solution, then we just lean into our community and say, we've got the specific problem in this particular area or this particular sector. Do you have any recommendations or suppliers that might be able to help us with this? And so you can lean into the community. So big answer to this is massive system, massive amount of knowledge and experience with the group of coaches, a very, very strong community, and a massive knowledge base that has been structured in the way that I would want it structured if I were going to do this.
Absolutely. And I suppose because of the infrastructure, because of the systems you have in place, that actually allows you to kind of tailor fit your approach to every clients that you have. But one thing that I've also noticed, Matt, is while I was navigating your website, you mentioned that you guarantee for increased profits within 6 months. So how does an ActionCOACH ensure that level of confidence in their services?
Fundamentally, because we're extremely confident that what we do works. That may sound a bit arrogant. Look, there's lots of business coaches out there, and there are some great business coaches that aren't part of ActionCOACH. There are also quite a few business coaches who don't have a massive amount of experience running businesses and are kind of winging it. So what the system allows us to do and focuses us on is making sure we deliver results for the client. That often means that the first few months we work with a client is quite transactional. We are geared towards getting financial results pretty quickly before we then go on to the transformation piece. So for us, our guarantee is that by working with us, the business will generate more profits than our fees within a given period of time. Now that might be 6 months, it might be 12 months if we're coaching them less than that 6 month period. That they will generate our fees within that time, or there's two guarantees. We'll coach them for free until they do, or we refund them, or we give them double the difference between the amount of extra profits they've generated and our fees. Some people find it more simple that we just return their funds. That means we are hyper-focused on ensuring that the client gets results.
Absolutely.
That's as simple as it is.
Absolutely. And I suppose every business owners, regardless of what kind of industry you're working on, that's the kind of outcome that you're looking for. Now, Matt, can you tell us about a particularly challenging business you've worked with and how you help them turn things around?
Yeah, sure. So I don't want to go into too much detail because sometimes every single client to me is confidential, and I can't go into too much detail. But I'll give you an illustration. So there are three types of customer a client that we generally work with, or that I can categorize. There are, if I put the analogy is, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? When you work with a coach, it's kind of like going to the gym. So you've got the businesses that want hyper growth and they are super focused. They might have a really strong management team, but they're kind of the equivalent of an elite athlete just wanting to get better. Then you've got the guys who really want to grow. They haven't got the systems, processes in place. There's quite a few things they might not have that they need. And that's like someone who's going to the gym he's already started to get fit, but now they don't want to bulk up. And then there's the guys that are really not very healthy. And they want to go to the gym because they pretty much want to save themselves. So in terms of dramatic effects in business, I've worked with businesses who, when I've sat down with them, have had their books say they've got a really strong balance sheet, and in fact, maybe they haven't. Maybe some things have been inflated. So cash flow is always a big issue for companies like that. And we've either, in certain cases, it usually takes 3 to 8 months to completely change a business. 3 months to rectify basic problems and 8 months to turn things around. Sometimes it's not possible to turn a business around inside the amount of time that they have. In that case, we just have to be honest and communicate openly with them and say, this is what you can do. These are your choices. There are other businesses which don't have the systems and structures in place, which we can have a massive effect very quickly. So give you an example. There might be a business that has found that haven't even realised that they've got a few £100,000 in the bank, and that's just sitting in the bank. So we'll look at that. We'll immediately we'll put that money aside, get some interest on that money. That effectively can pay for my fees for the year. That's also given them a bit of confidence. And then we'll look at conversion rates and the monies that haven't been collected. It can be really surprising about the lack of financial controls in the business. So once we work with the business, we work on those financial controls very quickly. And the other thing that I find a lot is conversion rates in sales. People often think that they want to generate more leads. So it's really common across lots of the businesses that I work with, and one or two very specific ones, where they've said to me, well, our conversion rate's around 70 or 80%. And I'm like, great, okay, can I see it? What we often do, without the business owner's knowledge, is we do some secret shopping. That secret shopping unearths so much information that the business owner doesn't even know. In one case, we discovered that the conversion rate, which the client thought was 70 or 80%, was actually less than 20%. They were losing over £500,000 a year because they didn't even know that they had leads coming in, because they weren't being pulled into a CRM system and no one was responding to a client. So in terms of dramatic effect, that's fairly across the board. I see that a lot in businesses, and it's something that we implement pretty quickly. So looking at cash flow in a business is usually super critical, and looking at where the wastage and lost opportunity are, they're usually fairly quick to fix. So hopefully that gives you somewhat of an illustration.
Now, of course, Matt, a business has a lot of components. You just mentioned about the cash flow and the operational aspect. But what about strategies for what strategies would you recommend for business owners, looking to improve their team dynamics and leadership skills? Because obviously this is also important in running a business.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. One of the first things that I look at when I assess a business, and lots of the other action coaches do this as well. In fact, I believe all of them do. When we start working with those businesses, we'll look at vision, mission, and culture. So culture defines the actions of a business. It's the guardrails. So you can put as many mission statements out there, or you can put as many regulations in a business and say these are the rules of this business. But actually, it's culture that drives that. Culture is at the heart of any business. If you have a toxic culture, you've got a toxic company. So defining for the business owners will have a culture whether they know it or not. They will have defined it in their actions, the way that they deal with clients, the way they deal internally. Once they've defined what that culture is, then that's the thing that will often attract people into the business to work for the business and the clients. It's the mark across the entire business. So from a recruitment and retention point, that's the hyper focus initially, is have they got that right? That's one of the foundation stones. When you start looking into that, then you get into the area of, okay, recruitment, retention, training, etc. They should all be built around those cultural values. Those cultural values are aligned, of course, to the mission and vision of the company, but it's also about the founder's behaviour. So that to me, that's the foundation for driving human efficiency in the business.
And Matt, I also want to hear from you. How do you help business owners manage their or balance their professional and personal lives? Because obviously, you know, at the end of the day, we're not just business owners, we're also, you know, we have personal lives.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I've been in that position myself, where as developing businesses over the years, I spent far too much time working in the business, not on the business, and that's acting like that has meant that I worked too long hours, and the hours that I was putting in, well, I would do 70, 80, 90 hours a week. Now that shouldn't be how you develop a business. The foundation of a business should be that a business delivers the life that you want. So you design a business to deliver the life that you want. You don't do what many business owners do, and I certainly did previously, which was to build a business and see what life you get. So if you build the business around your life goals, one of the great things about building a business, one of the most powerful things about building a business, is if you have a why. Now, this is, Dennis, you'll completely be on board with this. If you have a purpose in life, when you have a purpose in life, that's the thing that's going to keep you going. If your purpose is just money, I'd argue very strongly that that is not enough of a why. For some people, it will be. But for the vast majority of people, doing something that matters to them is more important. So for me, that's where it all starts.
Yes, it is clearly important that you know why you're running a business. You know why you're doing these things, and that the how will follow. But what about what's your message for business owners looking to continuously adapt? And we sort of touched upon this in a previous conversation. Like a lot of things are changing. Whether you work within digital tech, and so what advice would you have for business looking to staying ahead?
Education.
Hmm.
Constantly be curious. So I was talking to a very successful marketing services business the other day. It's actually part of Stephen Bartlett's group, the Flight Group. So it's a business called Flight Story with a CEO called Oliver, really switched on guy. And the one thing that resonated through our conversation was that he and Stephen are both very curious people, and they're constantly trying to seek out knowledge. So you can't really see behind me at the moment in this background, but there are a ton of books, and I watch videos all the time. I'm constantly seeking information. I'm constantly curious. So I think if you're going to be super successful, you need to be super curious. And in order to adapt to this very fast changing environment that we're currently in fact, we will be forever now. The speed, the pace that things are moving, if you don't constantly educate yourself, then you are going to get left behind. So you can surround yourself with a fantastic team who can provide some of that information. And in fact, having a great team of people around you who are also curious would be something that's going to drive the business. But in that conversation with Oliver from Flight Story, we were in our discussions, we were aligned in the fact that there is a direct correlation between curiosity and success. The more curious you are, the more education that you bring yourself, that you allow in, the more successful you'll be. There's direct correlation between it. So that's the way. If we are living in a fast-moving environment, education, education, education. So whether that's podcasts, there's Diary of a CEO, which is fantastic. Then you've got Business Excellence, which is part of the stable of ActionCOACH products. The interviewer is a guy called James Vincent, who's a brilliant interviewer. Right the way through to the Audible books. I consume so many of those. So yeah, education. That's what it all comes down to. Things.
Absolutely. Now, Matt, we've heard about your insights about running a business and also about coaching, and you also told us about your journey before becoming a coach. Now, I'd like to wrap this up with some quick fire, light-hearted questions, just so we can see the human aspect of Matt Donegan. So I have three quick fire questions. The first one is, what were you afraid of as a child?
What was I afraid of as a child? Wow, that's a good question. What was I afraid of as a child? Wow. Completely stunned me that. What was I afraid of as a child? Losing. I hated losing in sports. I don't know if I had a fear. I didn't have a fear of clowns or maybe heights. Heights, never been keen on heights. But I was very competitive, so I hated losing. So that was a driving force for me. But outside of that, maybe heights. Maybe heights.
And what is your favorite word in another language?
Wow. The one that popped into my head there was rendezvous. I don't know why that's the thing that popped into my head. Obrigado in Portuguese and Brazil. It's one of the only Portuguese words that I knew. So when I was in Brazil, I tended to use it quite a lot. So that springs into Portuguese. Yeah.
And what does it mean in English?
Obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you hadn't been a business coach, what would you have pursued in your life?
I used to love playing rugby when I was younger, and I sort of walked. I gave up the opportunity. Whether I was good enough or not, it didn't really matter. It was something that, I made that choice. So if I hadn't have done that, at one stage I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a drummer, but I found that I enjoyed my time on the other side. So I when I worked in the entertainment industry, I loved putting on shows. I loved putting on shows. Started as wanting to be a drummer. It really didn't work out for me. I wasn't very good, but I loved doing the other side of it. So me putting on a show, I did a show once with Beyonce and Jay-Z. And at that stage, I'd done lots and lots of music shows. And I stood at the back of the arena. Actually, I was in by the sound desk, and Jay-Z walked on stage when Beyonce was performing Crazy in Love. And it's the first time they'd done it live together. And the audience went absolutely crazy, and it made the hair stand up at the back of my neck. So I kind of did my dream job then. That was, I loved doing that. I really enjoyed it at the time. But we all move on, right? That's what's important. We all move on.
Of course. And finally, the floor is all yours. What should people take away from today's conversation? And of course, if they are interested working with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Thanks very much. So the thing that I take out from this, or if people can take anything out from this, running a business should be a pleasurable experience. There's a lot of help out there to people should they want to run their own business. And if you're going to run a business, start with why you're doing it. Start with your purpose. If your purpose is you want to help X number of children in the world achieve education, if your purpose is that you what else could be a purpose? That you want to be a world champion sports driver. Any purpose that you have is the thing that's going to drive you. So start with a purpose. enjoy the journey and plan it. Don't just make it up as you go along. So build a business that delivers the lifestyle that you want, not getting the lifestyle from the business that has led you that way. So you don't own your business, sorry, you own your business doesn't own you. If people want to get in contact with me, they can get through on my website, which is watford.actioncoach.uk. They can search me up on YouTube as well. There's quite a few videos out there. And I love working with businesses of all different sizes. The smallest business I work with is one person startup. I think they've got an absolutely fascinating idea, and I'm supporting them through that, right the way through to a business that has 3,000 employees, and we're looking at how they're changing their recruitment and retention structure. So the business I love working with have got a purpose.
Yeah, and they don't have to be in the UK. They can be based anywhere else.
Most of my clients are in the UK. They can be overseas. Yeah, I can work with businesses overseas. Some of the businesses I work with in the UK have got arms in other countries. So some of them are international anyway. There's one that I'm working with at the moment that's got a base in the UK, and they've got a big part of their operation in India. So they can be multinational, and they can be anywhere in the world. And business challenges are pretty much the same all world round. Businesses have three things that usually happen to them, and they're all based around time, team, and money. So it's either they need to generate more money in the business in one way, shape, or form. They have a team that is not functioning in the way that it needs to be to deliver the business, or on the money side, they're focusing on the wrong things. So, and they're working themselves, crazy hours, and the team are working too hard and too long. So they're usually the three things. So, and that is an international problem.
Thank you. And of course, all the links will be on the description note. Of course, Matt, as we continue to explore the complexities of business growth and success, your insights and expertise are incredibly valuable. Matt Donegan, Senior Partner at ActionCOACH. It's been fantastic talking with you here at the DRH Show, and I look forward to hearing more about your work.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.